if you're growing fast, just like we are, you know exactly how hard cash flow management can be. You've got customers to acquire, you've got ads to fund, you've got inventory to finance, especially if you don't want to dilute yourself by raising a round. What options do you have? Enter Wayflyer. With Wayflyer, you can get fast, flexible funding from $10K to $20 million at the best possible rates. No collateral, no dilution, just the funding you need to improve your working capital and help you grow your business. Join the thousands of businesses using Wayflyer to fund their growth. Go to wayflyer.com/pod to learn more. If you're trying to follow, footprints of success, it's really, again, it's less about DTC versus retail versus Amazon. It's be a category creator, create something that's completely different. And again, there were pimple patches before them. I know that's kind of their best seller, but really be known for something and create a category for it. And then, if you create a category, you're always going to have other people. Be by far the best in your category. I can't tell you how many people, even just in the office yesterday that I talked to about this, and they're all familiar with it. And they're like, yeah, it's the best. Like, I've tried a bunch of stickers and pimple things, and it's just by far the best. So again, have an amazing product, create a category, and then it really doesn't matter where you sell or what you sell. I think those are kind of the two most important things. And obviously great gross margins are extremely important as well.
Okay, welcome back. Episode 12. It's the first time I got on the first try. It's been a minute. Cody canceled on me a couple of times for this podcast. He's hard to get.
Yeah, my bad about that. I know we were going to do Monday. I was planning on working all day, but I went to play golf instead. So
when the hustle #grindset guy takes off to go play golf.
Oh man, I'm fucking burning out. So I'm trying to get everything done before this baby comes in a few weeks, which is also why we're gonna take a little pause of the podcast for a little bit. But I guess everyone's got their limits, and I hit mine.
This guy's combining a vacation with a paternity leave. Any parents in the audience, they're probably laughing. I highly doubt that's a vacation, but hey.
What do you mean?
LFG.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
He's burning out. You're like, I'm burning out. I'm going to take paternity leave. Usually burnout is like, he takes some time off, but ain't nobody got time for that. We're building an empire. But a couple of things. First of all, like Cody mentioned, a little break between season 1, season 2. Season 1 has been a blast. We had some fantastic guests. We had Nick Sharma, we had Amanda, we had Joanne, we had Shrey, we had Michael from Figs.
What has been your favorite one, Eli? Which one was your favorite one to do?
I mean, don't get me canceled, but I mean, to be honest, the conversation that felt the most natural to me was Mike from Figs, just like shooting the shit, talking about straight CX.
What the fuck? You just said the one that I wasn't on was your favorite.
Amazing.
You're dead to me.
Incredible. But no, I mean, it's been a blast, and it's exciting to kind of put this out here. And we've had a bunch of cool guests and a bunch of cool kind of just us two riffing. Next season will be fun as well. Already thinking about fun guests we can bring on. But yeah, let's hop right into it. The big topic that's been on my mind that we've been teasing for a couple of episodes was, community. And we had Amanda talk about creating this community with passion, vision, motivation minus MLM, and what magic that looks like. And we were riffing on this for a while, you and I, prior to starting this Jones Road Facebook community, which has been bussin'. But a couple of things. So first of all, we've been thinking about the idea of what is the ideal community? Something that I've been struggling with is we've seen brands kind of take a bunch of people saying you all purchased Domino's, now get in a room together and talk about how much you love Domino's. And you're like, what the fuck? I don't love Domino's. I purchased it when I was hungry. And we've seen kind of similar behavior where brands will say you've purchased my product, now get in a Facebook group and talk about it. And I've always been very pushed back on that.
Or you get an email after buying the first time. It's welcome to the family. And you're like, I literally just wanted to buy Birkenstocks. I don't want to be in a family.
I don't want to be in the Birkin cult. But I think so I've always challenged myself to push back on thoughts and feelings and opinions I have, because I'm definitely not Mr. Know-It-All. So I joined the Obvi community, which is, Ron and Ash, the crew. They built like a 50,000 plus community, and I was trying to figure out like what it is about these people that they've bought collagen or whatever products they buy. Why are they hanging around this community? And we've kind of found out that these people are all on this like larger mission together to lose weight, feel better about themselves, get better skin, better nails. And I think it's the combination of this broader mission and goal put into a community of people that have this like-minded mission. They haven't just bought products together, but they're in this broader kind of journey together. And the thought was like, how can we do that at Jones Road? Spice on top. My kind of thing that I coined over the last week is permission to obsess. What that looks like for us is, kind of the broader theory, of creating communities. You can create a community and either put all these super fans in a group and say like, you all are super fans, now talk to each other about it, but there's no incrementality from that, right? Like you're not getting people to spend more money just because they are surrounded by other people spending money. They're already spending the money up anyway. Or you can put a bunch of first-time customers in a group, and then it's just like, the inmates run the asylum. And the thought was like, imagine we can create this cultivated group of like 1,000, 10 plus purchasers or 5 plus purchasers that are already obsessed with the brand, the mission, feeling like yourself, but better, and confidence that Bobby preaches about, and then kind of slowly drop in some first and second time purchasers, and give them kind of this permission to obsess, seeing other people obsessed with the brand and kind of be like, oh shit, this is kind of cultish.
I think everyone struggles silently, right? And like everybody thinks that they're alone with their problems, and really they realize like there are so many more people like them, and if you give them permission, or you just give them access to other people who are going through the same journey as them and struggling with the same things, having the same desires, but put them in a space where they feel comfortable talking about them, I feel like you're doing something for people that like is as important as what your product is actually doing for them. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what brand is like you're fixing an emotional problem for somebody as much as you're fixing a tangible, a real problem. And I feel like that's what that community is kind of doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only other thing to add to that is like, there also has to be like a physical manifestation of like the perks that you get for being part of a community. I think just like having people in a community and just like, hey, talk to each other is not always enough. So, for us, that was always like
maybe not for a DTC brand, but there are definitely communities, right? If you take like CrossFit and stuff like that, like there are not, I mean, it's not like there's a lot of ways to do community outside of just like a DTC brand and like a loyalty program. And I feel like that's the main one, but obviously for a brand, it makes sense to kind of tie revenue and loyalty into it a little bit, because that's obviously the goal and why you're doing it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's important is when you think about loyalty, like what makes people feel closer to your brand or whatever it is you're building. I think getting higher on the hierarchy of needs, we talk about that often as like, the discounts and that kind of stuff is very low on Maslow's hierarchy in terms of like what it does to somebody's feelings, versus like getting higher on the pyramid of like feeling like you're part of this larger mission or community, or, kind of like almost, religion kind of sits on top. I think the other thing for us is like, how can we, I think recognition and exclusivity were the two for me. It was like recognizing that you're a VIP customer is always very impactful. Like if a brand sends a message like, thank you for your 4th order, like the amount of brands that I've purchased multiple times and haven't gotten like a separate kind of like recognizing that I'm not a first time customer is like weird. And it's something that I think is super cool and something I want to focus on if we can do it easily. Recognizing, and then exclusivity, like early access to products. You have the behind the scenes, all that.
I feel like that's more impactful because maybe it's again because this is my bias and my biased perspective, but I know that it really doesn't do anything. It doesn't really mean anything if a brand sends a flow and automated emails like thanks for purchasing again, like you're a great customer. To me, that doesn't mean anything. I also don't necessarily like we don't want to give people a discount, but I do feel like actually giving something of actual value that's a way of the brand saying thank you. Like I feel like that means more. So I feel like the exclusivity, at least for me, like I would care more about that if I got some swag, even if I had to buy it, if I got access to some swag or something like that, or products early, or even different products, like I would care much more about that than I would just getting an email saying, "Thanks for coming back. You're really loyal. We love you."
Yeah, I think exclusivity. You know what I realized on the listening to the last 11 episodes, I think 800 times an episode.
It's good. It means you're humble. It means you don't know. The worst if you're like, I know.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's probably a more impactful thing in terms of like giving people access. And the other thing is doing, being that Bobby's a large part of this. This story is like access to Bobby, whatever that looks like over a longer period of time. If it's like exclusive Zooms or whatever, then the last thing is access to our product roadmap, like surveys, like, hey, what do you want to see from us? It can be exciting to take a survey, choose product X, and 12 months later it comes out. I think that's always been fun. We did a couple of things like that at Olipop and it always crashed.
Yeah, I think I've said it before anytime we talked about it, but it's like if you ever cook, you're going to like what you cook so much more. Like if the same food was given to you by somebody else, you wouldn't like it nearly as much. But I think people just have this sense of like pride and accomplishment in what they make. So I think that if you can allow these people to feel like they're involved in actually making the meal, even if they're not, like obviously it is an amazing place to actually learn. And I think if we do it properly, we'll get so much great feedback on messaging as well as product. But I think even if you didn't really have it shape your roadmap, but you just did it in a way that it felt like people were involved, I'm pretty sure that a lot of those people would buy more of those products just because they felt like they were involved in making them.
Yeah, we did. I may have shared this on a previous episode, but we did a text at Olipop that was, holidays are coming. Ben is working on 2 different flavors, blackberry vanilla and blueberry vanilla. Replied blueberry for blueberry, and blackberry for blackberry. And we saw that at the end of the day, we chose blackberry vanilla, and most of the customers that voted for it purchased it, which is kind of echoing your point.
Totally, yeah.
I think it's exciting, especially when you're obsessed with a brand, not as a first-time customer, but if you're obsessed with a brand and you love their products, and you're like, I love all of X from Jones Road. I'd love to see them make a blush or whatever that is. That's super exciting.
Oh man, how awesome would that be? I'm just thinking like if like Vury like got an email and it was for like a community and they were like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, or like I just got a Tonal. I know like Tonal has a Facebook group that I joined, but if it was like, hey, we're thinking about adding this exercise to it, like what exercises do you want to see? Like, yeah, you would be more excited when it actually released to be like, hey, like I helped, I did something here.
The shittier way of doing this is the way tech companies have like a roadmap that you can vote on. Mm-hmm. I think it just feels less organic. But great focus groups do this well. Great Typeform surveys do this well. And I mean, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's a no-brainer to build what your community wants, unless you're operating at this whole kind of like Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, MO that they don't know what they want. But if your customers have purchased a bunch of shit and they know what they want to see from you and you make it for them, it's like an easy no-brainer way to cut to the chase in terms of predicting revenue.
I'm just laughing because like anytime somebody says something on Twitter about like listening to your customers, there's always all these dudes that are like that like quote Henry Ford or like,
faster cars, faster horses. I mean,
yeah. It's so funny. You should do it. Can you tweet something about listening to your customers? I guarantee you get at least a few replies.
I feel like you have more reply guys than I do. But I mean, we both at this point have plenty of reply guys. There's always like anything I'll write. It can be like, I'm not a very controversial person on the Bird app, and I'll just write something that's like, I think there's no way anyone can argue with. And I'll always be like, well, here's an exception to it. And I'm like, okay, Jeff.
Oh my God. I
Just
don't,
leave it.
I really stopped engaging with a lot of people and just started unfollowing people because I'm like, people just have super strong opinions, and I'm totally fine with that because I have strong opinions. But it's like, yeah, they like are like, I disagree. I love when people start their reply with "I disagree."
Incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was actually thinking about, I started typing up a newsletter about, retention and holdout tests and incrementality. A lot of this stuff was brought on to me by you and Sarah. Not Sarah, Alex G on Twitter, but just like thinking about retention as a whole, and something we're talking about, just recession and all that conversation over the last couple episodes. And I was wondering, like, how many businesses can you think of on your one hand that would survive 2 years without any new customers? And I think that's been like, for me, that's been like, holy shit, that's like the holdout test of the ages. If and some companies that would easily crush it is like Apple. Like Apple can just live on its current customers, create new products, and not acquire a single new customer. Yeah, maybe they won't grow massively, but they'd survive. And most of the D2C brands I know churn through customers. Like we go through Cereal. Do we go through Cereal?
Magic Spoon.
Okay. But I think that's like, can you think of brands that can crush that?
No, you have to be a certain size. You have to be huge, and you have to do so much of your revenue. I mean, again, you're not talking about growing here, but you have to do so much of your revenue. If you look at it, most good brands are going to do, between 60 and 70% of their revenue from new customers, in any given year. So, I mean, Taylor Holiday on Twitter calls it like the shrinking sponge, but like you can probably be fine for a little bit, but I think without acquiring new customers, you're going to you survive, yes, but you're going to cut expenses. You have to cut pretty much all of your expenses. Obviously, you're going to cut your ad spend, right? But I still think that you're going to do 30 to. What do you think the best DTC brands are doing in terms of like returning customer rate? You think some are at like 50-50? You think some are at like 60% returning on a year-long basis?
I mean, over 50 you can argue is too high. Like I wouldn't want to see that, because then your growth is kind of shit.
Yeah, but do you think there are any that are like that or not? And they're just like, hey, we'll grow slower. We just want to be super profitable.
Certainly. Like I definitely know of brands that were at 50-50. I think the other kind of big piece that I failed to mention is like, obviously retention would mean word of mouth as well. It doesn't mean you have no new customers coming in. It just means you're not spending on acquisition. So like, that's completely different. Yeah.
So you still are acquiring customers. You phrased it so differently. You're like, no new customers. Can you live on
cancel this guy?
So what you're saying is, you're more saying this is kind of like that whole like Airbnb thing when they stopped spending on Google search. You're more saying the mark of a really strong brand is whether you can survive without spending dollars on paid media. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I think that's a fair test.
I mean, and I think that the interesting thing about that is, and I had a couple of conversations this week about just like brands reaching ceilings, and somebody I was talking to today was like, she's like, if you look at most brands are acquiring the same Facebook ad purchasers, like the ceiling of people in the US that will purchase a product on Facebook ads is probably not nearly as high as what your customer base could be.
Oh man, don't even get me started. I have opinions here. I totally agree with you. Go on.
Well, my thought is like, the way she was phrasing it, she's like, it's all the same suckers that buy things on Facebook. And it's like, hitting a ceiling means you ran out of suckers that will buy ads on Facebook. Like there's word of mouth, there is retail, there is every other pay channel. And she's like, there's no real way we can know that people are reaching the ceiling if their entire business is being grown by Facebook ads. And I think the other thing to add to that is, at the end of the day, if you burn through your customers and they purchase once, like what is the TAM of healthy soda? I mean, you can argue that it's the whole country, but what is the TAM of like a vegan whatever? Like some of these niche products, is like if you burn through your customers at a one time, they purchase once, they never come back, you're gonna hit some sort of ceiling pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I think I have definitely tweeted about this, and I think it's controversial. I don't see Facebook as a top of funnel channel. So a top of funnel channel to me is a place where you're it's mostly an awareness platform where people are kind of finding out about you. It's not necessarily a direct performance channel, and I think Facebook is more of a performance channel. I think you can build obviously easily a 6-figure business off Facebook. I think you can build a 7-figure business off Facebook. You can, again, this is one where everyone's going to argue and be like, well, you can build an 8-figure business off Facebook. Yes. I think it's much harder. I think, again, 8 figures is, obviously all the way from 10 to 99. So I think like you can, but I wouldn't advise it past 50 million. There aren't really, we're also talking post iOS. There really, I don't think are going to be any new businesses, 8-figure businesses built off Facebook as like the primary acquisition channel alone. And I really don't think you can build a 9-figure business. And the reason for that is if you're doing purchase optimized campaigns on Facebook, I'll say, Eli, you're totally right when you said it, where you're like, there just are so many suckers willing to buy on Facebook. I'll say it a little bit more eloquently in terms of like conversion optimized campaigns. Like there are only so many people ready to buy in a funnel that Facebook can target, that are on Facebook, that are in the market, that Facebook has data on and thinks they're going to purchase for what you're looking for, So there's this quote that I love from an old mentor of mine that's what gets you started gets you stuck. And I think that's a problem. And I think so many brands are just in the state of like, they're trying to grow, but they're just trying to they're trying to hack and optimize and continue to find efficiencies on Facebook that just really aren't there anymore, and find scale that's really not there. Because what's going to happen is in any given kind of market, you're only going to have so many people that are ready to buy right now. There's this book, it's like the ultimate sales pyramid from Chet Holmes. And his data is like 1 to 3% of people are going to be ready to buy right now. And even if it's up to like 10%, even if it's 5 to 10%, if you're doing purchase optimized campaigns on Facebook, you're really only going to reach those people. And I think Facebook is better served as more of a middle funnel channel where you're reaching those people that you got into your funnel and you got to be aware of your product and brand through other means, other channels. I think it's best when you have a very holistic kind of traffic pie and you're getting people from referral, you're getting people from press and affiliates, you're getting earned media from influencer. Obviously you can expand into definitely kind of non-digital stuff, out of home and stuff like that, which, we'll definitely start testing and getting to soon. But I think the more diverse traffic you can get at the top of the funnel, the better your Facebook ads work. And then you can really scale, but your scale on Facebook is really limited by the top of funnel traffic you generate. And I think so many brands are still trying to use Facebook as a top of funnel platform. And that's really where they're running into issues. And they're not treating, top of funnel really any differently from a direct performance channel.
I think that's spot on. I just said I think again. Mm-hmm. Can you take a
no? Damn it! You know
shot?
It. You know
Can you take a Waterloo shot every time I say I think?
Yeah, no. We should chat about flavors. So I want to talk about Waterloo.
Big heat coming from Cody this week saying Waterloo is better than LaCroix. It is a verifiable fact.
All right. Yeah. So
spicier ones.
Real quick, what do you think about the spicy take I just dropped about how Facebook is not a top of funnel channel, and it's kind of the reason why most brands are getting stuck at the revenue size that they're at?
I mean, I'm not a growth guy, but even from a customer perspective, it's like I know that I've never purchased a product on a Facebook ad in my life. And I think there are back to my original concept, I think there are only X amount of people that are buying products from Facebook ads. And regardless, like you're saying, there's only X amount of people that are ready to purchase today, and most people are leveraging Facebook as a full funnel approach. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, buy my shit, see it today, buy it today.
Yeah, exactly.
One day funnel.
And this is where it kills me. Some people think that they are so good that they can literally like accelerate those funnel steps all in one day, and that it can like be both. And they think they can turn somebody from like top of funnel cold all the way into like buying like right on that day. And it to me is it's super arrogant because like the classic ADA sales funnel is never going to go away, and everyone thinks that they're better than it, but really,
I mean, it's human psychology.
Yeah.
And the question is like, if you can hack somebody, if you can hack it and get somebody to purchase, if you can hack somebody, if you can hack the system and get somebody to purchase today, it's like, will they purchase more than once? And if they're purchasing once, it's like, forget about the CAC to LTV ratio. It's more about brand, right? It's like, your CAC to LTV ratio is important, but it's also important is like if you want to unlock word of mouth, you need somebody to purchase more than once. If you want positive reviews, positive scores, positive experiences, you need repeat kind of like, you don't need super fans, but you need repeat customers. You need people purchasing more than once.
So your CAC to LTV, you're not going to have great retention if you're getting people who have only become familiar with you today. So even if you are speeding up that funnel by doing super hardcore direct response stuff, you're going to have pretty terrible retention unless you're going super hard on like direct response and you're really good at it. But again, most e-com brands are not, good enough at that. But you're also going to be paying a ton of CAC because again, you're speaking to such a small percentage of the market when you're doing that aggressive direct response stuff. You're getting cash flow today, but your CAC is going to go so high. And I think overall, just blended CAC, I know you're not going to be able to directly attribute it in your attribution platforms or in your ad platforms, but if you're able to play the long game and actually wait and allow people to kind of buy at their own speed through multiple touch points and multiple channels, I think you're going to have a much healthier business.
Yeah, 100%. The other hot topic I'd love to talk about before we hit on our third topic of people ops and growing a team and all that fun stuff. Hero Cosmetics sold to Church and Dwight, which is Arm & Hammer and Co. 630 mil, did revenue of 114 mil, EBITDA 45 mil last year. 5.5x revenue, 14x EBITDA. Thoughts, feelings, opinions?
Yeah, so I think first of all, it's amazing.
By the way, they're heavy on Amazon. That's the thing. Like everyone's like huge win for D2C. They were mostly Amazon and retail, FYI. Down to Chat is brought to you by swag.com. We are going to be talking more about employee retention in this podcast. And I think one of the super important parts of keeping employees is making them feel valued. It's core to company culture. It's core to making people feel welcome. And so many brands pull out this janky old swag that people don't want to keep. Swag.com is exciting because they carry thousands of incredible products from custom tech to apparel like North Face and Yeti and Nike and so much more. Swag.com works with 5,000 companies like Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, TikTok, Google, Apple, and a whole bunch of small startups. The most exciting thing for me on swag.com is that you can create these custom gift templates where when somebody joins your company, they fill out a form. They go onto this landing page. I know Cody's a big landing page guy. Hop on a landing page and you can actually, brand this landing page and it feels like your company's swag selection page, which is absolutely awesome. And you can ship 50 different swag boxes to 50 different addresses on their site. So excited for that. If you use promo code D2C10 at checkout, you get 10% off your first order. Check it out, swag.com.
I know, I find that really funny, but yeah, I mean, pretty absolutely amazing. Crazy growth, obviously crazy profitability, so really inspiring to see. Number one takeaway, right? I think like if you're trying to follow, footprints of success, it's really, again, it's less about DTC versus retail versus Amazon. It's be a category creator, create something that's completely different. And again, there were pimple patches before them. I know that's kind of their best seller, but really be known for something and create a category for it. And then, if you create a category, you're always going to have other people. Be by far the best in your category. I can't tell you how many people, even just in the office yesterday that I talked to about this, and they were all familiar with it. And they were like, yeah, it's the best. Like I've tried a bunch of stickers and pimple things, and it's just by far the best. So again, have an amazing product, create a category, and then it really doesn't matter where you sell or what you sell. I think those are kind of the two most important things. And obviously great gross margins are extremely important as well.
Yeah, I mean, great gross margins. No, I mean, a great company that was built lean, profitable. The 5.5x, revenue is wild, but it also is like, I'm no like private equity VC guy, but I mean, just looking at the potential growth that they can unlock at that kind of crazy margins and profitability. I mean, they probably have a ton of products down the pipeline. They clearly have a stellar team. I mean, I'm familiar with Ju just from the industry. I know that Bobby knows her. I mean, like she's just a crusher and a great operator. And I think, her sticking around with the company and the other co-founders. And again, like crushed it in Target, crushed in all retail they launched, probably have insane velocity, per store per week. Those pimple patches, they're on GoPuff and they fly off. They're constantly sold out. So it's just like you're saying, category creator, great business that makes more sense. And the other thing with her, it's like if you've been following her on social for a minute, you've seen that she's been talking about building this for a long period of time, trying to build $1 billion brand. She wasn't on this whole like grow a D2C brand on Facebook and exit. And I think that to me is the biggest takeaway. It's like if you want to build a business that has the potential to stick around for a hot minute, it's a lot more valuable for strategics going into this kind of new age, new wave.
Oh yeah. I mean, I bet with those margins, I bet what they're spending on traditional, growth channels is probably very slim. I'd be super curious to know like what they're actually doing for marketing. But obviously they're doing something right from the brand side, from the distribution side with those margins.
What the other thing that hasn't been spoken about enough yet is that when you sell to a massive player like Church & Dwight, you unlock massive potential upside opportunity in terms of scale, both from a like production standpoint and a distribution standpoint. Like all of a sudden you unlock economy of scale that you didn't have until now. So safe to say you'd probably see even better margins.
Depends how they operate it. I mean, I feel like probably to get there, they had to be, pretty lean and efficient and run it like a startup. I believe I saw a thread where they have been profitable from the get-go, which I think is really inspiring and amazing. I think it's just another one of those things where the growth era is over. And I just don't think you're going to see a lot of acquisitions that are going to be high growth companies, that are, not making profit. And I think most companies, yes, you're going to buy, you might be bought by a strategic who can value add with distribution or something like that. But I think more than anything, they're going to want something that has proven profitability, because that's, it just hasn't been proven that they can buy something that's not profitable and then flip some magical switch and make it profitable.
I mean, the fucked up other side of that is that so many businesses can kind of just go into this growth stage, exit, and then drop all the debt on the public market and have all the suckers that buy like WeWork stock and all that stock. Mm-hmm. Like, some businesses like, WeWork, Uber, etc.
Yeah, but there's not going to be as many, even on, I'm no expert at all. All I know is DTC, but I don't even think there's definitely not going to be as many DTC IPOs, but I even think there's not going to be as many exits out of those high growth companies privately. Yeah.
It's definitely a tremendous win for the space and a win for lean companies and profitable companies. So, 5.5x revenue is wild.
Pretty crazy. 40% net. Yeah, there's a few other businesses. Like I think somebody, maybe Sean from Reddit or somebody else shared something about like Olaplex was doing like 40% margins, which is pretty insane.
Don't they charge like $60 for shampoo?
Yeah.
So
I think Augustina's Bader does probably similar to that. I think they're a great business that nobody knows about.
Also crazy luxurious price wise. It's like
crazy luxurious retail, mostly retail. Not doing a typical Facebook ad DTC thing, but
do you think they haven't found out about Facebook ads yet? Should we teach them?
Yeah, they just haven't even heard of it. They're like,
should we teach them the Facebook ads gospel? Should we put them on the Facebook courses?
Yeah. All right. So Waterloo, right? So I'm a big sparkling water guy. My favorite probably is Topo Chico. I think the harsher the bubbles, the better. But I like the flavor too. So I got a Waterloo here. I think it's way better than LaCroix, whatever. Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
LaCroix. Jokes.
That's
I would say LaCroix. Yeah.
What do you agree with me or not? You think I'm way wrong?
No, I agree. I'm a big Waterloo guy. I'm always buying it. So the three brands that I mess with right now on the flavored seltzer train: Waterloo, Bubbly. If it's on sale at Target.
Bubbly's like cheap, right? Isn't it like super cheap?
If it's on sale at Target. Yeah. And then the third one, which I mess around from time to time, is Target's own brand, Good and Gather. They have some really funky flavors that I mess with at times. But Waterloo, they had like a summer berry drop. I love that I'm calling it a drop. A summer berry flavor that was incredible. Black cherry that you're drinking right now is awesome. a
We
premium
have
flavor.
black cherry and peach right now. I like black cherry more. Peach is good. We had cherry limeade, I think, or cherry lemon. I think cherry lime was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they got some cool flavors. I'm a fan. I think it's personally better.
Tell me,
Waterloo, if
do you
you
know
want to
anything
sponsor
about
this.
do you know anything about the business? Like what's the
Absolutely
what's-
nothing. No. You know what's funny? I thought, because I see it at Whole Foods. When I walk into Whole Foods, it's like a giant thing. Yeah, we should probably do some research before we come on here. But I thought it was like a cheaper brand. Like at first I thought it was like a kind of like a discount, kind of like a 365. The packaging is kind of weak, I feel like. What do you think?
I mean, it's not like a very modern D2C-ified. I'm trying to Google right now who this,
Yeah, I don't know.
who's behind the Drink Waterloo. Oh, Austin's Waterloo Sparkling Water sold to Investment Group in 2020. Okay, that's funny. So probably held by private equity right now. Made in Austin, sold to a whole bunch of folks. More Strategic Ventures, JW Levin Management Partners. Financial terms of the deal were not disclosed. Was founded in 2017. That's pretty shocking. I would have thought they're older than
Not that old, and they're probably pretty big now, considering they're in like every
available
Whole
in more
Foods.
than available in more than 13,000 stores. But this is 2 years ago, so probably closer to 20,000 stores. Okay. It was founded by a couple of people and Kavu. Kavu is behind Health Aid and Poppy and some of the other beverage brands, which is very interesting. When they exited, they had 31 employees, which is pretty solid.
Jeez, that's crazy. Could be another solid business that no one knows about. Sparkling water. Who would have thought?
I mean, it's mostly it's all water and some flavor, so it's probably okay margins.
Yeah, definitely not a DTC brand, but yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
I mean,
just
if you're not shipping
plus.
it across the country,
That's
if
what
you're
I
in
mean.
retail, yeah. Do you?
Yeah, I think that's the other important thing though, is just knowing what a pimple patch costs. Like, I don't think DTC is dead, as we talked about in the last episode. I do think that there are brands that can make it work, but I think it's the same way that I think you can play it in the NBA if you're over 6'4". If you're under 6'4", you're probably not going to play in the NBA. And I do think DTC is dead for you if you have a certain makeup of your business. And I think if your AOV is probably under a certain amount, I don't want to say an exact dollar amount, but it's going to be really difficult. And I think also if your shipping costs a certain amount, your DTC is dead for you. I think it's more difficult, but I think you have to have kind of like the right genetics for it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Last topic before we seal this deal and bring you back as a daddy.
That's terrifying.
Cody as a dad is going to be all sorts of iconic. I keep saying give me a shout if I can help with any dad stuff, but then you see my son and you're like, no thanks.
Yeah, I see him
Not with this
about to fall off a windowsill at your apartment or something.
Dude, some new energy yesterday. He has like this little toy bike. He stood up on the handlebars of the bike to get up on the windowsill. So we're doing all sorts of chaos.
Terrifying.
So we were talking about this pre-recording, and I was like, "Why don't we record?" And Cody's like, "We don't need to spill all this tea." But we were just talking about the fact that parts of being a CMO are not the ads and the marketing, but growing a team, people ops, all the fun stuff. And I'm curious to hear you riff on that a little bit.
Oh man, start me off with a specific question.
The specific question is, here, let's phrase it this way. Why is hiring director of brand marketing so hard? And what is the trick to source great employees? Like, how do you hire great folks?
Great question. So one of the questions is, why is director of brand marketing? So we're trying to hire a director of brand marketing. It'll probably take us several months to do. I think this one is really difficult because I think, it's a founder-led brand. We're already doing insanely well, so it's not like we're coming in trying to get somebody to rate the ship, but I think we can allow ourselves to take a little bit more time. And I think, between Bobby and I, we don't necessarily need, but it would be amazing to have. just somebody who can kind of continue to grow our audience and build the brand in terms of a little bit more of a brand marketing and top of funnel standpoint. But I think, brand is your soul. And I think it's really hard to outsource that. And there are so many DTC companies that do outsource that. I really never get those companies that pretty much outsource everything to agencies. Like, I get doing some stuff. I get paid social, I get website, but working with like branding agencies, working with then like email agencies, having somebody do SMS, it's like, what do you actually do as a brand? But rant over. So I think it's just kind of, it's an extension of the brand and the heart and the soul. And I think finding somebody who has that unique skill set for us, I think brand marketing is super general. And I think it probably,
I was going to say, what does a brand marketer at Jones Road do?
It means a lot of things to different people. I think number one is kind of controlling and maintaining anything internal. So a lot of product launches, we have a project manager, but I think working with a project manager, kind of being like the go-between between all marketing, as well as kind of working with creative and product development to bring things to life. So new product development, kind of working with the product development team to bring to life those products in terms of kind of go-to-market strategy, what we're saying about them, what we're not saying, and then once they kind of flesh out a strategy and idea there, then taking that to creative and being like, hey, here's the strategy, here are the campaigns, here's what we're saying about it, here's how, again, like, you're the experts, you're the creative experts, but like, what are some ways that you think that we should shoot this, and what's some content that you think we should do, or here are some ideas for content. So that's number one. Number two would be kind of like top of funnel strategies, could be paid as well. It could be, for us, they'll do things like they'll manage SEO, so any kind of editorial component. If we were to do out of home, they'd be pretty involved in that. For us, it's still, I think a lot of people have this notion that brand marketing is all fluff and it's all just writing taglines and approving things and doing logos. And I couldn't disagree with that more. They're going to be held accountable to KPIs. They're going to have growth goals. It's just not going to be direct revenue growth goals. It might be traffic. It might be media value. It might be something like that. But there's definitely going to be growth goals kind of attached to it. It's just not growth in terms of, how most kind of people on like a growth team are thinking about their goals. But I do find that there's, depending on the makeup of a brand, there's a lot of subjectivity and kind of preferences in terms of who does what. Like, some growth teams manage SEO agencies, some brand teams do it. I feel like beauty is very traditionally brand driven, is kind of like the large part of marketing departments, versus in like supplement space or stuff like that, or just more digitally native companies. Like, there's a much larger growth team. Like, I was talking to somebody from a supplement company recently, and they have like 7 people on their influencer team, but they're all on the growth side. They report to growth. They don't report to brand. And I feel like at a beauty company, that's pretty rare, and they all report to brand. So that's one. And then probably, the one other final thing is, I think it's important to have a cohesive message, cohesive just look between all channels. And so they would kind of be responsible for that, right? So currently it's like, we'll do something and it'll be in social, will be like, I'm doing this, and influencer will do this, and email's doing this. And they would kind of be the person who's kind of coming up with that strategy, with myself, and then kind of like disseminating that and briefing like all the different kind of channels that would fit under like the brand and growth teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And a great example of that is like, we are talking about launching in the UK, in a UK warehouse soon. And like, coming up with a broader strategy is like, if we can give customers one message on that, what should that one message be?
Yeah.
And here's how we make it sound unique to 6 different channels. Like, here's how that message should come across on social versus on email versus on SMS. And I think it's a great call out. Like, up till now, it's like everyone kind of just does their job, and the project manager kind of pulls everything together. But in terms of like, what is like the core messaging that we're trying to get across?
I think that's the most important thing. And then activating that on all channels. And, especially for any kind of campaigns or launches, activating that on PR and affiliate as well, email, SMS, social, different social platforms, paid. I think, that's really super important thing. And then, the other one that I'm most excited about, there are so many things kind of, to try to take some of my own advice. there are so many channels that I want to test and expand onto in this next year. I mean, we've got some pretty aggressive goals. So I want to do TV. I want to do some out of home stuff. Probably want to do some direct mail. We are doing affiliate now. We're starting SEO right now. There are just so many things outside of Facebook that I want to do, but I want to do them properly. And I think just we need the person who can kind of, be the one managing these projects. But that's what I'm most excited about.
I just got a card in the mail from Huron.
How was it?
It was a good card. It was like a reactivation card. I guess I haven't purchased
got it.
in a minute. I'm curious how that does for them. But
that's something we should put on the retention pipeline as well.
Yeah, like a reactivation card. I've gotten cards from MeUndies. I've gotten cards from quite a few brands over the last year. We were always chatting about doing it at Olipop, but we never ended up pulling the trigger. But I think it's an interesting thought. The last question, what do you think it takes to go from 8 figures to 9 figures in terms of brand and marketing side of the business? Obviously you mentioned testing new channels and all that, but exiting from the Facebook wheel, what does it take on a broader?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's definitely harder now than I think it used to be. I think you need probably the simplest way, I think you need paid 2 to 3 channels. I don't think you're doing enough one channel. And I'm not even counting Google for most brands as a channel because that's primarily, branded. So that's demand capture. I think you need 2 demand generation. So that might look like TV and Facebook. That might look like, YouTube and Facebook. It might be something like that. I think you need that. It's kind of debatable how much brand you need. I mean, it's definitely more profitable and easier. But I think it's kind of debatable how much, brand and earned media that you truly have. But I think one of those channels should probably be more of a top of funnel channel. So maybe you have YouTube and Facebook cranking. If you have YouTube, Facebook, and Google cranking, like you're probably can get there. But I think you need multiple channels, and you probably need you need to expand your market. If that
do you need retail?
No, there's 9-figure. I know of personally several 9-figure DTC brands. They're profitable, they're bootstrapped, but I know of many. But if I look at all of them, what they have in common, they are brands. They are known. They might not be as well known as an Adidas or something like that, but they're definitely well known outside of just Facebook. And Facebook is not their primary growth driver. If anything, sometimes is actually not even their best. That's kind of one thing that I found that's kind of consistent with these brands is sometimes Facebook is actually not their best. And that's probably a good kind of sign of product market fit is if you have channels that are more profitable than Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. The other last question, what roles are we trying to hire now?
Oh my God, how much time you got?
Give a shout. We got good
director of brand marketing. We're looking for a videographer, ideally somebody who, definitely has some camera experience, shooting on a Canon, a Sony, got some lighting experience, but really understands kind of how to create and cut content for social. That would be an amazing one. So, obviously primarily TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. We're looking for that. We are looking for, honestly, those are the main ones right now that I can think of, at least on the marketing side. We just kind of, brought on somebody for affiliate. So we kind of have that filled right now. But yeah, definitely the director of brand marketing is kind of the most urgent hire we have. So if you know anyone or you're looking, please get in touch.
There you have it, folks.
Anything All right, well, that was it.
Mr. Cody?
That was season 1. I mean, we're still going to be active, so I'm still going to be kind of tweeting away a little bit when I have time. Probably even more when I'm out because it's not like I'm going to be working. Like, what else am I going to do? Still going to try to publish my newsletter as often as I can. Still, hopefully, doing it weekly. I'm locking in some sponsorships to keep myself accountable and promising. So I'm still going to try to do the newsletter every week. And so that's kind of the primary spots I'm going to be. But for now, at least temporarily, I have no idea what to expect with the baby coming. I already think life is hectic. I can't imagine what it's going to be. So we're going to be off the podcast circuit for a little bit.
What I tell anyone that, I'm a pretty young dad, and what I tell anyone that asks about parenting for the first time when it relates to like getting work done as well. I think like the biggest learning for me is you suddenly get a lot more shit done in a much shorter period of time. Like you suddenly realize the amount of time wasted, like between, like I'm 10 times more effective now than before I was a dad, just because like the quality of work goes up even if the quantity goes down. Like I get more shit done. It's just like you have to really, really, really structure your day in a way that makes sense. Like there are certain non-negotiables for me. Like I like putting my kid to sleep every night. I like spending time with my kid in the morning. Outside of that, like I'm okay if he doesn't see me at all during the day. And you know, I make sure that when he goes to sleep, I get shit done because it's quiet at night. And sometimes like in the morning, it's not ideal to get work done, and that's okay. It's like, okay, if I start my day at 9:15. Before having a kid, I was always working at 7, 8, 9 in the morning. That was like my most productive time. Now some of my most productive time is 7, 8, 9 p.m. And that's okay. I think being flexible. And then just like not expecting anything, because first couple of weeks are kind of chaotic.
How long did you take off?
Not a ton of sleep. I took off, I believe it was close to 3 weeks. If I did it again, I would take off longer. Less so in like, I guess it's more of like, how can you, yeah, it's less like I wouldn't necessarily take off 3 weeks at a shot. I would take off some time, and then I would take off like within the first 6 months, because like some folks end up having help, like whether it's your in-laws or a nanny or whatever it is. And you're like, in the first couple of weeks of a child on this earth, like sometimes the mom can be more helpful than the dad. So it's like I took off 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm like, my mother-in-law's there. I'm like so not helpful right now. Like, what? Yeah,
that's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of guys will like do less time up front and then do more time off later on.
Like now, my child can be totally okay spending a week with me. And I think it would be so much more it would have been more effective if I took off a couple of weeks in. Obviously, you know, having that conversation with your partner, but also, yeah, I mean, expect
you'll have the conversation with my partner. Is that what you're saying?
I certainly will if I have to.
I appreciate that.
No, I think it's been like a lesson to not expect. Yesterday, so we've had like just a chaotic busy week, and yesterday I had like, I was so excited to jump into the tickets. It's been so long since I like just jumped in. It's like my zen. It's like my space. I love being in the tickets, like just kind of clacking away. What they call the trenches. Am I right? No, but it's like such a great. It's like some people get exhausted by it. I become alive. It feels like a place where I can just like go in autopilot. And I like start getting into it, and then my wife texts me that my son has like this big infected bite on his foot, and the doctor says we should go to urgent care right now. And it's like I spent 4 p.m. to like 7 p.m. out dealing with that, and it's like, there goes your day.
Yeah, I was planning on doing all this shit.
Even
now, like we're going to the doctors and hospital twice a week, so it's like that's like 4 hours out of the week. So
I know. I think you just kind of figure things out. You start juggling, but that's like one of those things you can't prepare for. Yeah. But it'll be fun.
We'll see.
Already, clothing, crib, everything.
We got it. We got the crib. I built the crib this weekend. We got some clothing. Yeah, getting the house ready.
It's like it's a fun time when everything's prepped and it's still quiet.
Yeah.
Fun before the chaos, before the storm.
I don't know if it's that much fun, but I still feel like it's chaotic, but I'm sure it's gonna get 100 times more.
He's on his Bob the Builder shit. Building cribs.
Fun, I know. Got a gun and everything.
Amazing.
All right. Should we do it? All right. Season 1 done.
It's been a pleasure.